to Green Flag TV, and welcome to the Pavement Recycling Systems Indy Montreal Grand Prix. We are just about to get kicked off here from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. 5 more minutes of warm-up tonight for these guys before we have 69 laps around this historical circuit. A lot of tough corners around this racetrack. Obviously, the Wall of Champions, we want to make sure that you avoid that. Obviously, we want to be a champion, but that wall is going to come out and get you tonight. Hopefully, it doesn't take any of our championship contenders with it. I'm Austin Edstrom, standing along Ryan Walker, and Nolan Rimple is behind the production booth. Ryan, it's a pleasure to have you alongside us here tonight as Nolan's feeling a little under the weather. What do you think we're going to see around this racetrack? I know you're a big Indycar fan, or you like the Indy cars. What do you think we're going to see around Circuit Gilles Villeneuve?
Yeah, it's good to be back, and it's good to be calling this race alongside you, Austin. And what to expect from this race? Well, it's not really a big track when you think about it. It's as you see on there, you probably think looking at the track map, it's massive, but it's tight. There's not many passing opportunities, and I think especially that chicane turn 12 and 13, if you make a mistake over those curbs or try and take too much curbs, that will spit you into the wall. And as you see on the screen right now, it is around about 83 degrees Fahrenheit and around about 31% humidity. So yeah, and partly cloudy conditions and 13 mile per hour winds, that could make these cars very tricky around this Montreal track.
Yeah, a little bit of a windy day here today with that 13-mile-an-hour wind, like you were talking about. Not sure the exact direction it's pointing in, but that could, if it's a headwind coming down the Casino Straight, could open up some passing opportunities down after the long slipstreaming opportunity coming down to the Wall of Champions chicane. But we're going to go ahead and jump and look at our championship standings real quick. Ethan Agan with a pretty commanding lead over Cameron Dance at race number 10, about 29 points in between those two. Jan Hoffman with a crazy miss last week, or I should say 2 weeks ago, from New Hampshire in the 3rd place position, another 45 points back. And then Jamie Wilson, Lucas Laville, Randy Shoemake, Andrew Aitken, Johnny Garrett, Franz Josef Stum, and Vesa Gila Olila round out your top 10.
Yeah, and looking at the rest of the standing as well, you've got Logan Simmons and then the German Robert Grosser with Rob Bernical in 13th, and then basically looking down onwards or backwards, well, whatever way you want to say it, it's still real close in the standings as well. So those top 10 places are still up for grabs. And also as well, heading into this round, there's some drivers with some penalties, I believe. So that could, it could. I wonder if that might make them go with a different strategy for today's race.
Yeah, definitely could, coming down to the middle portion of this race, whether we have or how many pit stops we have at any given moment. And then, like you were mentioning in the standings, about 6th to 10th was really, really tight. I feel like Lucas Laville up in 5th could either challenge for 3rd up on the podium or could even fall back to, as far back as 10th if he starts having some a couple bad weeks to end out the classic IndyCar season. We're looking at Jamie Wilson here, completely blowing turn number 3 there. It's going to be pretty frequent that we see issues like that, I believe. I think we're going to see a lot of outbraking yourself here tonight, right? A lot of the passing zones, you said there weren't a lot of passing zones, but whenever you do have them, it's pretty heavy braking zones, as we see Franz Josef Stum coming around one of those corners. I expect to see some pretty late dive bomb moves into.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up as well. The heading down to the hairpin, if you're behind someone and you get a good run, you can try and make moves into the hairpin, but you've got to be fully alongside, and you've got to make sure if you do go for a move that you don't lock up into the hairpin and possibly risk running another car wide in the middle of the corner.
Something else we got to watch out for, I do think we're going to have a good handful of pit stops here tonight with a 69-lap race. So you've got to be very careful coming down onto pit road. A little bit different pit entry than we've seen at most racetracks. You're entering pit road on the racing line, right, into a corner. So if you're entering pit road, you're not braking for that corner, and you could absolutely plow over somebody if you're not paying attention well enough. So got to be a little careful entering pit road. It's a little bit more technical, a little bit more challenging to avoid if you're in a battle with somebody. So be sure to watch out for pit road entry later tonight.
Absolutely. And talking about strategy as well, but apparently, or it could, I believe anyway, it could be a 2-stop race, and it could be between 24 to 26 lap stints, but obviously you might see some drivers maybe just trying to stretch out possibly and trying to go as long as possible with yeah, maybe trying to go as long as possible and not take as much fuel in the pit stops.
It's going to be a little weird coming down to it. With the pit stops, it's not going to open itself up for too much strategy because if you split this thing into thirds, it'll be every 22 laps and you can make it 26. So you can stretch out that first stint maybe 4 laps extra, like you said, short fuel the car and perhaps give yourself some time out on the racetrack. But it's not as aggressive of a strategy as we've seen in weeks past. But the qualifying is over. The warm-up is done, and the cars are starting to get lined up here from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. We're going to run through our starting lineup as Thomas Mustesen is up on the pole with a 120.726. Cameron Dance, 0.6 of a second back in second. Raphael Eckert in third. Willie Schwabauer in fourth. Jan Hoffman starting in fifth with Robert Groscher in sixth. Jamie Wilson in seventh, and Marshall Stanley in eighth. With VJO starting in the inside of row number 5, Johnny Garrett rounds out your top 10.
Yep, starting in 11th, you've got Logan Simmons with the German Franz Josef Stum in 12th. Then Andrew Aitken in 13th with Randy Schumach 14th. And then Rob Bernicall 15th with Jack Turner in 16th. And the last 2 drivers that did not set a time in qualifying is Cesare Manzato in 17th and Rafael Rodriguez rounded the grid in 18th.
And the grid is starting to roll on down to turn number 10. We are about to get this thing kicked off. I'm telling you, every time we come out for the Classic Indycar Series, it's an absolute barn burner. Fun races week in, week out. Now we've had a lot of ovals here pretty recently, so it's interesting to come back to a road course. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, obviously very, very well-known racetrack up in North America, up in Canada. And I think it's going to put on a great show, right? I know you said there's not a lot of passing zones, but I think that kind of leads these guys to try some more sketchy moves at some point, right? In the middle of this race, you got to go for everything, and especially at the beginning while everybody's bunched up. Take what you can get right off the bat.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's one of those things as well, especially around this track, that you might see some drivers jockeying for position in the early stage of the race, maybe because they want to have that track position before the first set of pit stops, and make sure they don't get held up behind a slower car, which around here can absolutely cost you time and kind of ruin your strategy in a way. But as they're coming around through the chicane, Austin, we're about to get underway.
The iRacing pace car has pulled off, coming down to the last couple of corners. The field is going by the Wall of Champions for the last time at a slow speed. And now Thomas Mustesen first to the gas and first to the line. We are racing from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
Yep, heading into turn 1 and 2, and it looks like it's been a clean first couple of corners so far, Austin, and there's not been any incidents or calamity, but it looks like at the moment it's been a good start for Mustesen and Cameron Dance, not too far behind at the moment.
Yeah, Mustesen takes the lead on that initial jump, had a really good start there. Just obviously he gets to control the start, so he gets a little bit of a jump and then had a very, very clean first couple of corners to just bridge that gap out over Cameron Dance to about that 4/10 of a second mark, coming down to yet another chicane. This racetrack is filled with chicanes. It's going to be a very heavy challenge for these guys tonight. We talk about the Wall of Champions, but that wall is going to be just as dangerous as well. I would not be surprised if we see a couple cars going careening into the barriers on the exit of turn number 9 as we now sweep down into turn number 10. Single file all throughout the top 5, 6, 7, 8, coming down, and then through the little kink of 11 and another kink of 12. One driver going way wide through 10. I believe that might have been Grosser that was a little bit too wide, losing positions. He's side by side coming down the Casino Straight.
Yeah, and if you go wide in the hairpin, it can compromise your exit as well. As it looks like Grosser's about to lose a position into the chicane, but as I say that, actually he gets his elbows out and regains that position, and that causes a few cars behind him to get bunched up and slow up more than usual, and then as we head into lap 2, it's still must it. That was a nice save.
Marshall Stanley, what a save coming down to turn number 1. He had just passed his teammate coming out of turns 13 and 14 right by the Wall of Champions. I thought we were about to collect 2 of them in the Wall of Champions. Instead, he got the move done, and then coming down to turn number 1, just outbraked himself a little bit too much. The back end stepped out on him as he's turning down into the corner. And just a little bit too much speed coming down to the apex. But man, that is a tough save to make, right? These tires are super thin, super tiny. Not a lot of grip once you've already lost the grip. It's hard to get it back, I should say. Luckily for him, he was able to do it. Good bit of runoff right there and didn't collect anybody else coming back through the chicane.
Absolutely, and as we look at the battle for 7th place between Grosser, VGO, Logan Simmons, Johnny Garrett and Stum as well in the battle So that little hiccup or bit of jockeying into the chicane is basically caused these cars to bunce up together, and they pretty much in a train at the moment. And that's the thing as well with chicane, Austin, is basically you kind of get that temptation to go side by side for the chicane, but it can go horribly wrong. Or on the other hand, as you saw, it just causes drivers to slow each other up.
I feel like this is going to be a very late there, a little bit further back. Oh no! Somebody is completely foul. Oh, it's Marshall Stanley. He had a huge save at the beginning of this lap, and now he's nosed it into the fence before the Wall of Champions. Honestly, I've never seen somebody hit it that early coming through the corner. I imagine he must have clipped this first curb on the inside just a little. Oh no, he's just loose under braking again. Completely looped that thing around. I think he needs a little bit of a brake bias adjustment, but I don't think he got the wall too hard. So ultimately a good save from Stanley, but oh, he took the toe. Never mind. Well, that's definitely a tough break then. No yellows out here tonight. So Marshall Stanley, not the start to this race he'd wanted. Even after the toe, I don't know if he's going to be able to get back out there. I think this is going to be a war of attrition. That's what I was getting ready to say. This race is going to be a war of attrition. This is a very unforgiving racetrack as we have a battle for 13th heating up. Cesare Monzato into 13th, makes the move around Rafael Rodriguez.
Yeah, but the field already starting to just spread out ever so slightly, but further back up, the battle for 7th is still going on at the moment with the Vigiola and Grosser, Vigiola, and a few other cars in this pack as well. So there's still plenty of exciting battles going on at the moment, but apart from that, it's all being relatively cleanish, and it's settled down at the moment.
It's so hard, especially in this early going. How hard do you push? Do you just try to keep tabs on the leader? Like, do you try to run quite that quick, or do you back it down a little bit and say, okay, this is 69 laps, I've got to at least get to the end of it? You know, if you're Cameron Dance, maybe you got the pace to stay with Mustin and at least keep him honest, but Mustin has stretched out a 4-second gap, 5-second gap, 7-second gap, 9-second gap on 3rd through 6th, right? So he's obviously got a ridiculous amount of pace. So if you're in one of those positions, how hard do you push in this early going, or are you just backing it down? Let me get my top 10, let me get my points, take what the race gives me, especially with, like we said, Marshall Stanley, 2 incidents early. I think that there's going to be a lot of attrition here. A lot of people are going to be pounding these walls now.
I think it depends where you are on track. Obviously, if you're at the front and you've got, obviously, if you're Mustafa, you're leading the race and you've got Cameron Dance not too far behind you. Obviously, or I think in my mind anyway, you've just got to keep up that pace and keep doing what you're doing, because if you start backing off, that's when your concentration can start going off a little bit. And around a track such as Montreal, that's not the track where you want to start backing off and losing your focus or concentration.
Coming down to the final chicane here, the number 9 Grosser. Holding on to that 7th place spot. VJO is not letting him get away. This is a tight 2-car battle for 7th. There's another 2-car battle right behind that's getting side by side. Logan Simmons, Johnny Garrett going at it. Logan Simmons is going to be able to take that spot up to 9th. Goes to 92.
Yep, so that was a good move by him, and to take the position. And just behind as well, there's a move going on as well, and it looks like, I thought one of the cars there making a move was going to go straight on there because he carried so much speed, but managed to somehow get it slowed up and take the position and say, that was a bit, I thought it was going to be a bit of contact there, but thankfully managed to get away with it.
These guys swapped positions around twice now in the course of the last about half a lap. Johnny Garrett getting back past Logan Simmons and then back up a little bit further. As these guys have been battling, they were in the same camera shot as VJO and Robert Grosser. They're still in the same camera shot there, but you can tell they're a good bit further back than they were on the front straightaway with all the fighting they've been doing. VJO trying to bring the fight to Grosser too. He puts him off. He took the nose down to the inside, gets a lockup out of Grosser, but Grosser's going to use that outside line, get a better run off. Now can VJO get into the slipstream and mount another challenge down into the final chicane?
Yeah, it looks like he's trying to make a move into the chicane as he's going down the inside of Grosser into the chicane, and manages to get the car slowed up. And but that was a nice textbook move there. He got the car slowed up perfectly and managed to pull the move off.
Yeah, going into that last chicane, I'm telling you, even if you're getting past, it's a 2-car tango getting down into that corner. You need both drivers to be minding their business, be on their P's and Q's, and just make sure that you keep it safe to be able to get through that corner whenever you enter it side by side. Grosser there getting past. He facilitated that pass really well. Still in the early going, not going to fight it too hard. I think that's a smart move there from Robert Grosser, just letting the faster vehicle go through. VJO just looks really, really quick right now coming through the field. He started 9th, up to 6th, or sorry, up to 7th. We're going to get a replay of Monzato passing Aiken here as we come down into turn number 1, just past the, or excuse me, down the Casino straight, I should say, coming down towards the front straightaway. Got by him on the straight. Pretty easy move. Again, I think that's just a little bit of facilitating there, making sure that we're not going to go side by side into the last chicane, and both of us end up in the Wall of Champions.
Indeed, and just looking back up at the front as well, and Musterson managed to pull out a gap to about 2.7 seconds, and coming across the line now, it looks like it's going to increase even more. And looking at the gap now, it's about it's up to 3.7 seconds now, so Musterson's pulled out another second.
Musterson is just rapid right now, just at the fastest lap, and you can tell it by that little graphic down on the bottom right, 9/10 of a second that he built over Cameron Dance that lap. Musterson has found some pace that we have not seen out of him this season so far.
Absolutely, and yeah, I think Musterson, I'm guessing, is just trying to build up a bit of a gap as well, and just trying to build that gap as much as possible, and then once maybe he gets to about 5 seconds, just try kind of just maintain that gap, but without obviously overdriving or pushing just a little bit too much. Maybe trying to build up a bit of a gap before the first round of pit stops.
Raphael Eckert running in the 3rd place spot. Willie Schallbauer trying to run him down in 4th. About a second between these guys as we funnel down into turn number 10. Cameron Dance just a little ways up the road, coming down the Casino straight now as we get around the kinks of 11 and 12. But Schwalbauer's doing a good job just keeping within fighting distance of Eckert. Obviously, the podiums mean a lot here, especially whenever we come to the road courses, right? It means a little bit more, I'd say. You know, getting into the top 3 in one of these things at a road course means a good chunk. Sometimes at the ovals, I feel like you can get a little lucky. You can luck into a pretty good finish just by managing the draft relatively well at some of these places. But you come to a road course, you finish in the top 3, you know you got the talent to do it, you know you got the speed, and well, you're able to keep the car on the racetrack for all 69 laps. So it means a lot to be running up in that top kind of couple positions. Even if you're not going to come away with the win, maximize your day, try to get yourself onto the podium and get an interview at the end of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it depends. Like basically, I guess it depends if you're good on road courses or ovals, or maybe someone that races is more experienced on the ovals. If they take a podium on the more experienced on the road, I should say, and they take a podium on the ovals, it probably means a lot to them, and it's probably like the other way around as well. So yeah, it's a good point you make, and obviously you never know, some of these guys maybe further back in the field might just be trying to keep out of trouble, and if they try and make it to the end, you never know, you might see one of these faces that's not on the podium regularly there at the end of this race.
Raphael Eckert could be that guy. I don't believe that we've talked to Eckert all season, so it'd be cool to see Raphael up here. Cameron Nance has been up on the podium a couple times. He's been very consistent, up in 2nd of the standing, 2nd in the race so far here tonight. And, you know, as it stands right now, he'd be gaining a good chunk of points on the championship leader as well. There's a lot that go into these. I'm especially with him in 2nd, right? Like we were talking about, how hard are you pushing the early going? And if you're Dance, you know, being relatively close to Mooston, and you're like, okay, I want to keep him, you know, relatively close so I can fight him for this win at some point here today. But if you're Dance, 2nd place in the championship, you're ahead of all your championship rivals. Maybe you just keep that thing between the lines and make sure you don't pound a fence down and get your 2nd or 3rd place and get out of here with a really tight championship battle.
Indeed, and that's a good point you make as well. Yeah, you want to win races all the time to try and basically increase your chances of increasing the championship lead or being in contention for the championship. But
no!
someone's had an issue. It's car 66.
It's Monzato. Cesare Monzato has found the inside wall here, I believe. Was there another car on the right? Oh, there's 2 of them. There's a 2nd one that we have no idea. Oh man, good camera work. Panning over. I don't know who that is, but I believe it's Barnicow. Oh, no.
It's Johnny Garrett.
Oh, Johnny Garrett found it with them. Johnny was running a little bit higher. Yeah, Garrett was running a few positions higher, so it's hard to believe that these two were related unless maybe Monzato had to take some evasive action, but Garrett's well off the racetrack right here. Oh, no. Oh, I think he made evasive action whenever he didn't need to. I think he saw him kind of reversing out into the racetrack and thought he was going to come all the way across. But honestly, Grosser did a good job keeping that, relatively straight, right? I mean, he didn't back up all the way across the racetrack. Yeah. That's just a tough break coming up on a slow car, stuck sideways and thinking he's going to come back across. Ultimately just got on the brakes a little bit too hard there for Monzato, trying to avoid that one.
Yeah, just watching the replay as well, it looks like Garrett comes onto the corner, his corner entry is fine. It seems to be right on the corner entry, it bounces on the curb, and then over this curb, it just makes the car unstable and it makes it bounce.
Unfortunate for Garrett and Monzato here in the early going, just 10 laps in. Luckily, neither of them really got any major damage off of that. So they're at least able to continue. But again, no yellows to get them back up towards the front of the field, or at least packed up with everybody. So it's going to be tough for Garrett and Monzato to kind of turn this back into their favor. Maybe they can get a little bit of pit strategy to help them out, but I feel like the pit strategy is relatively straightforward here tonight. It's just about whether you undercut or overcut by 2 or 3 laps, and I just, that's not going to be a big enough difference to make a difference in the strategy if you're Garrett or Monzato, having a loop already. It's going to be hard to come back from that.
Yeah, and pretty much if you have issues around this track, such as mistakes or spins or anything like that, it can cost you around this track, just because it's it's a small track, or it's pretty much, it makes it more difficult to try and catch back up, because sometimes if you end up having issues, you can't be lapped straight away, and that just basically ruins the strategies. It looks like we're looking at, let's try to see what car that is. It's Monzato, so trying to get back through the field when it bounces through the curve as well, and you don't want to be doing that too much, especially with the world champions on the exit.
As Monzato is struggling a little bit. If any of you miss anything that happens at any point during the race here tonight, we're live here today on Green Flag TV, and we're going to be live on ESTV in about a week's time as well. So if you missed the first half of the race at any point, or if you missed any accidents you'd like to go back and watch, ESTV will be rebroadcasting this race in its entirety 1 week from today. You can find their distribution platforms at estv.co. Tough battle here as Barnical's letting Monzato get back through. It looks like, Barnical got off the gas there. Let Monzato take the position. No real reason to fight it too hard, being this far back in the early going. Just let Monzato go and do his own thing. No reason to get into another accident or really put you on the back foot if you're Barnical. So smart move, just backing off. Letting Monzato have that position after that early spin. Looking a little bit further up through the field. Andrew Aiken in that number 27, coming around close to the wall of champions, but not really flirting with it too heavy. I'm surprised we haven't seen anybody really flirt with it much tonight so far. I know we're only 12 laps in, but I would have expected somebody to maybe give that thing a little bit of a kiss.
Yeah, I was expecting someone to kind of just give it a clip, or to give it a kiss, like you say, and maybe towards the end of the race you might see something like that happening towards the end of the race, but when stuff like fatigue or lack of concentration starts kicking in. But yeah, obviously it's good to see these cars still going at the moment, and currently the battle for 11th place is going on between Andrew Aitken and Rafael Rodriguez, so yeah, still got plenty of battles going on as well, which is good to see.
Rodriguez closing in on the gearbox here of Aitken in that number 27. Coming into what feels like the 10th chicane on the racetrack. Oh, no, Rodriguez goes spinning. He locks it down, so he's not going to get any damage, but he is going to lose a chunk of time in that 12th place spot. Shoemake's going to be coming up around, and it looks like Shoemake might be able to get by before we get down to turn 10. So it's a tough break there for Rodriguez. Looks like maybe he's got the gas back in it, but those tires are going to be a little heated up from that spin. Could lead himself into another issue, but he's going to hang on to the 12th place spot, but that's 10 seconds he just lost off of the back gearbox of Andrew Aiken.
Yeah, and that was somehow he kept out of the wall, and they managed to hold the brakes as well, which probably slowed them down a lot. But looking at Mans, I thought he was going to go for a dive bomb there. But yeah, I think he decided better of it.
Finishing up lap number 12 for a lot of these guys currently. Mustonen still your race leader. Cameron Dance still running in second. The gap between second, third, fourth has not really grown at all through this race like it has between first and second. Mustonen is putting on an absolute clinic so far in the opening couple laps of this one, but Eckert's not falling off too far from Dance, and Willie Schwabauer's not falling too far off from Eckert as well. So these guys could convene and fight for these last 2 podium spots here pretty soon. Still a long ways to go in this thing too, so you never know where the mistakes will strike. Who's going to pound that wall of champions first?
Yep, and yeah, I'll be interested to see who does if it does happen, who strikes the wall of champions. And yeah, but maybe towards the end of the race you might see some people starting to push, and you might see it happen then. But yeah, everyone's been really clean at the moment, and not had any issues apart from some spins and half spins. But looking at the battle for 12th between Rodriguez, Shoemaker and Garrett as well, and coming down the Casino Straight. Also, I'm keeping an eye on the back up at the front as well on my end, and Mustensen's got that gap up to about 10 seconds now, so he's just putting on a masterclass.
In this battle for 12th, if you're Rodriguez, you got to be a little frustrated, right? You were just putting somebody else on the back foot, looking to bust into the top 11 here, passing Aiken, but instead you make a mistake, and now you're on the back foot. Now, lucky for him, Johnny Garrett made a move on Randy Shoemake, going to buy him a little bit of time. But Garrett's one of those drivers that had issues earlier, so you got to expect he's got a little bit more pace than Rodriguez in front, and he's going to be running them down, trying to take that 12th spot back. I think Johnny Garrett's got the pace to get back up into the top 10, even after that issue. It's just, are we going to see another issue out of that ESTV car?
Yeah, absolutely, and this battle just about comes down the straight as well. It looks like I thought there was going to be a move made there for a minute. As Garrett tries to make a move, he's going to make a move up inside, decides against it. Actually, I tell you, but Garrett was going by there, so that was bad of me.
Hey, that was a powerful move from Garrett on the outside. I didn't expect him to get it done around the outside coming into turn 8, but he gets the move done. I think that Rodriguez kind of facilitated that a little bit for him, made it a little bit easier than it could have been. Garrett looking to the outside here on the ESTV replay. Here on Green Flag TV, gets the move done. Pretty simple, moving himself back up into the top 12. I think he can get back up into the top 10. Well, he's got about 18 more seconds he's got to make up on Franz Josef Stum, but with the pace that Garrett's got, I think that is absolutely doable over the course of the next 44 laps. 54 laps.
Indeed, as they come across the line now, it looks like we might. I thought there was going to be a move made there for a second. Does it look like someone's had an issue in turn 1?
That's Rodriguez again. Rodriguez with a huge lockup. He was about to go wide, having to get that thing slowed up like crazy. A couple big mistakes here from Rodriguez over the course of the last couple laps, costing him a big chunk of time and costing him 3 positions so far. Just hit that curb and got a little sideways, and instead of sliding off through the dirt and then maybe slide back onto the racetrack and taking somebody out, he took the smarter route of just locking her down, getting on the brakes, keeping it on the racetrack. So ultimately a good job from Rodriguez mitigating the damage in that one, but that's 2 mistakes now in the first 15 laps that has cost him dearly.
Yeah, and he's probably getting frustrated now a little bit. Just the race is not going the way he wanted, and it's probably just leading to silly mistakes. But yeah, still going there. Oh, it looks like someone's had an issue in turn. Actually, the hairpin, the exit of the hairpin, and it looks like one of the and it looks like Stanley's had an issue. So he's on the exit, just maybe looks like too much power.
Yeah, Marshall Stanley is definitely not going to rewatch this race. I can tell you that. He's having an absolute shocker so far. Tough break for Stanley over the course of the first few laps. He had a decent starting position, but unfortunately he's fallen to the back of the pack. 1 lap off the pace. Already taking a tow today and now having another issue. So hopefully Stanley can get that thing at least back on the racetrack and settle it out, but it's going to be tough for him going forward. I imagine he's just out there hoping for other people to make mistakes to pick up some free points because, you know, being a lap down here, not many people you're going to be passing on the racetrack out of merit, but man, that was close coming out of the wall, or coming through the wall of champions. Willie Schwabauer just about saw Rafael Eckert pound the wall of champions that time by, and he's licking his chops. You know, you see somebody do that one time and, you know, it gets their heart rate pumping a little bit, maybe making them have a couple more mistakes. Maybe they just get the jitters a little bit after about pounding a wall down, and maybe Schwabauer sees that and thinks, okay, I can run this guy down. I can go up here and challenge for the 3rd place spot. It was about a 2-second gap between the two. It's fallen down to 7.5 tenths until that move right there. Schwabauer way wide through that chicane, so he's going to give up a good chunk of that time.
Yeah, and that's fine. It looks like, someone's made a mistake in the hairpin. It looks like it's looking to see who that was. It looks like it was Rodriguez making another mistake.
Yeah, Raphael not having a good day so far. A little bit of a lockup coming down into turn number 10. Randy Shoemake able to get away due to that error. Shoemake didn't have a great turn 10 himself, but he still had a better one than Raphael, so it gives him a bit of breathing room as we come through the final chicane by the wall of champions. Neither of these guys really pushing the issue too much. Further behind them, Barnacow was definitely pushing. I don't know if that was that Barnacow behind him? Somebody was pushing the issue right off the gearbox of these guys. Heck, that might be Mustinen. Mustinen is already getting ready to lap these guys up in 14th and 15th.
Yeah, so yeah, pretty much already we're all getting cars just about to be lapped, and I think Mustinen will probably want to try and get by out traffic as quickly as possible, just so he doesn't get held up. And obviously he's got a 12-second gap between him and Cameron Dance, so he can't afford to be a little bit more cautious and not take too many risks.
His pace is absolutely ridiculous right now. 12.5 seconds that he's got over Cameron Dance, about to be 13. Coming up on slower cars, Randy Shoemake getting out of the way for him, making it an easy pass. Rodriguez will be the next one to get lapped by your race leader, but Thomas Mustinen, man, I mean, 13 seconds he has put on the field in the first 18 laps. His pace tonight is just absolutely unmatched.
Yeah, and he's pretty much just been on it from the start and just trying to build a gap as much as possible. And obviously, if you've got a gap before the pit stop, it kind of takes that pressure off you a little bit, because I thought Mustinen was going to clip the wall there, but as he goes by another of the back markers, when you've got a big gap when it comes to the pit stops, it does help a little bit.
Mustinen has gotten by a couple of these slower cars at the back of the field. He's got another decent gap before his next the next car that he's going to be putting a lap down, another 7 or so seconds up the road. So Mustinen now with a little bit of clean air, going to let him build that gap back out. Once again, it had kind of stalled at that 13-second mark as he was getting past Rodriguez. Now he's going to have the clean air, going to be able to build that gap back out over Cameron Dance. I was talking about his gap between first and second. The gap between second, third, and fourth still is not increasing much. All these guys, Cameron Dance, Raphael Eckert, Willie Schwabauer, about even pace. I think these guys are going to be fighting and dueling it out in terms of pit strategy as well all throughout this race. And we're coming up on those pit stops. Remember, the pit stop window is about 24 to 26. If you want to cut it into perfect thirds, you're pitting every 23 laps. So we're a couple laps away from those green flag pit stops. Going to have to wait and see. Does somebody throw the race with a pit road speeding penalty or pounding the fence coming down? I feel like that's the only thing that could maybe derail Mustinen's night at this point.
Yeah, and looking at Cameron Dance now, heading onto the casino straight, it looks like we've got we've got Stanley heading onto pit road, and I think this pit stop was probably out of sequence unless he's got damage.
You know, Stanley's had a couple issues so far tonight, coming down pit road once again. Might be calling it quits. Well, he's putting tires on that thing, so he might be coming back out. He's had a couple spins, though, so maybe he's just thinking, I need to get some new tires on this thing and at least give myself an opportunity. And you know, it's a learning moment, too. Whenever you're this far back in the pack, you got to think, I'm going to be using this as a practice session. It's a long race, so you get a lot of laps out there. Maybe you can get behind. Maybe you can get lapped by Mustinen or Dance or Eckert and just sit behind one of those guys and learn. Watch and learn what they're doing. The best thing you can do on iRacing to get a little bit better, get a little bit faster to track, get a little bit more consistent is watching some of the guys that have already got it nailed. And right now, if I was an IndyCar racer, I'd be getting right on the back gearbox of Thomas Mustinen and just following him around the racetrack, hoping he would teach me anything he can.
Yeah, and that's the thing as well. If you're following another car, you can learn what they're doing, what stuff they're doing, like what lines you're taking, what maybe. Even though you can't see it, maybe learn what gears they're using, what corners, and just kind of just learning little tricks.
Jan Hoffman in the 0-5 coming through, running in that 5th place position. Good night so far from Jan. It's just about 12 seconds off of the battle for third, 14 seconds, I should say, off of the podium. Jamie Wilson not too far back in 6th. So these guys keeping each other honest. And VJO's right off the back of Wilson as well. So he is kind of continuing his run through the field. Like I said earlier, he started in 9th, and I think he's got a little bit more pace than these two in front of him. So VJO's still continuing to try to run his way through the field, maybe get himself up into the top 5 before too long.
Absolutely, as the boats to go for it, going through the chicane now, and then back up looking further back at this battle for 12th and 13th. Got this battle going on as well. Oh, as I say that, actually, one of the cars has a bit of a sideways moment.
Was that Monzato again? Oh,
yeah,
man.
Yeah, that was Monzato, the 66 car. And looking further back as well, or looking at the replay rather, they heading down to the chicane. And it's Rodriguez and Shoemake heading into the hairpin, and I have to say, Austin, some drivers just having silly mistakes, maybe just pushing it a little bit too hard instead of just kind of just doing a pace that they're comfortable with.
Well, these vehicles seem to be pretty hard to drive. To be fair, the older Indy cars, not quite as much grip as what we see nowadays. I'd have to imagine a little bit more difficult to drive, difficult to get through the gears. So it's a little bit more of a challenge than I feel like the modern Indy cars are here on iRacing. So they like to give these guys a bit of a challenge. They like to make it hard on them. And well, it's been difficult for a good chunk of the field tonight. We've seen a good couple of mistakes. One thing I'm surprised about, though, we haven't seen that more of attrition, right? It's people spinning, but they're not really ruining their race, as we're starting to see. Your first couple of pit stops, VJO is coming in right behind Jamie Wilson. This is 6th and 7th place coming down pit road. Lap number 22, both these guys going for the undercut.
Yeah, absolutely. I was about to say this is one lap earlier than expected, but I guess it's they're going for an undercut and just trying to get out of some traffic as VGO goes up on the jacks. Behind him, and Jamie Wilson's on the jacks as well by the looks of it. Jamie Wilson leaves the pits first and manages to stay in front of VGO.
VJO having a little bit slower of a pit stop there, or pit sequence, losing just a little bit of time to Jamie Wilson through the pit cycle. That's the first couple of cars to come down pit road. Like I said, splitting it in thirds would be at the end of the upcoming lap for the race leader. He's just finished his lap 22, so still a couple more laps before we see everybody kind of cycle through their first green flag pit stops. This is a very big moment of the race. Are the mistakes going to be made? Who's going to make the mistakes? Does it shuffle up our running order at all, or bring anybody close to that battle for the podium, right? Can Jan Hoffman get a really good pit cycle and give himself an opportunity to fight for that podium position? Looking back a little bit further back to Andrew Aitken. What can he do on this pit cycle to give himself an opportunity? Right now, he's on the back foot. Manzotto is trying to get by. That's I like that from Aitken because he's trying to get out of the way and give the spot to Manzotto. But man, whenever you pull off out of the racing line to do it, it's a little scary. It's a little unpredictable. And in these open wheel cars, it's all about being predictable. Any little bit of unpredictableness can end your race. All it takes is one little clip to the front wing or to your tire, and you're done.
Yeah, and that's fine as well. But trying to get out of the way around the track stops. I thought something happened there.
I've got my camera on Mustonen, and he got really loose coming out of turn 10. Well, not super loose, but coming behind Andrew Aitken, he was trying to get by. Made just a tiny mistake. I thought he might have been spinning, but he hung onto that thing. It was just a little twitch. But it's more than what I've seen from Mustonen so far tonight. He's been just about perfect. So it's the first little time I've seen the back end wiggle.
Yeah, he's definitely pushing for sure. And looking at Cameron Dance as well, heading into the chicane. Is he going to come into the pits? No, he's not. So it looks like Cameron Dance is going to try and go to around about lap 26 or 27, trying to stretch out fuel as long as possible, just to try and stretch out as long as possible and make sure he doesn't have to take as much fuel.
Hoffman electing to stay out on the racetrack, still in the 5th place spot. 30 seconds off the race lead. Mustonen has kind of stalled out here at 13.5 second mark. Not really gaining on Dance, not losing on Dance either, though. So at the end of the tire life, maybe Mustonen just slows it down a little bit. Just keep that thing under you. Make sure that you don't make any mistakes. The tire life is starting to go. And I imagine we'll be seeing him down pit road in just a handful of laps, if not at the end of this one, as he comes down to turn number 10, the hairpin. Still a couple cars in front of him. He's looking to lap.
Indeed, excuse me, traffic in front of Mr. and I wonder if he'll try and I wonder if he'll come into pit road in this lap and maybe try and not lose too much time. He's going to come into the pits. No, he's not. He's going round for another lap. So I think Mr. Indy's going to try and go to lap 26.
Battle for 14th here. Rafael Rodriguez coming down the Casino Straight. Randy Shoemake just a little ways behind, 0.4 of a second between these two. Got the draft coming down to the final chicane as we see somebody coming down pit road. It looks like Eckert's coming down from third.
Yep, so Eckert into the pits now, and yeah, on lap 25, and dives into his pit box now, and just to see if he'll take a full tank, or just maybe try and maybe just take less fuel, try and keep the track position. But as he leaves the pit box, and this pit exit, Austin, is probably one of the trickiest I find, because you're going at such high speed, and sometimes it's easy to make a mistake and go into the grass and hit the wall. But we've got another car hitting pit road.
Robert Grosser coming down pit road for his first pit stop. But I kind of want to touch on what you said earlier, or just a second ago. Going out of this pit road, you know, I talked about the pit entry. The pit exit is very, very difficult as well, right? All the way on the outside of turn number 2, you have to stay, right? You can't cut back down to the apex right away. You got to stay on the outside all throughout until about the middle portion of that corner. And, well, you're coming out on cold tires. So if you push it just a little bit too hard, all of a sudden you dip 2 tires into the grass. And, well, with the new iRacing grass physics that we got not too long ago, if you slide out ever so slightly and dip 2 wheels on it while they're cold, you very well might as well put all 4 out there. And you're probably going to get all 4 out there and go sliding if you dip 2. But Thomas Mustonen, your race leader, Cameron Dance second, Willie Schwabauer, who was running 4th before the pit stops, all of them coming down pit road.
Yeah, that's what. We've got a battle for P2 going on as well. On the track map apparently as well, and Thomas leaves the pits, and Cameron Dance is still in the pit box. So I wonder, is that a speed? I was going to say I thought that was a speeding penalty, but maybe just taking a little bit longer to get done.
Cameron Dance back on the racetrack. We were looking for Eckert there in the 74 on the track map to see, because he pit 1 lap earlier. He ends up coming out right in that 3rd place position he was running in anyway. So Eckert just going to mitigate any damage. Had that 1 lap undercut. Still coming out 3rd place. Didn't gain anything. Didn't lose anything. Logan Simmons coming in from the fringes of the top 10. But through those pit stops, Cameron Dance did gain 3 seconds on Thomas Mustonen. The problem is Mustonen has just been so quick on the racetrack. I don't know if those 3 seconds are going to come into play.
And that's fine as well. It's you can gain time on someone in the pit stop, but as we've seen with Thomas already, he's just been absolutely on it every lap, and his pace has just been sensational. I'll say again, sensational. So as we've got other cars on the pit road.
Garrett, Stoom, Aitken, Manzato, all down pit road, all getting service and starting to come out back onto the racetrack. And they're going to be coming out right in front of your race leader, Thomas Mustonen, and you see him coming down the front straightaway right there, down into turn number 1. So Mustonen's going to have some traffic to deal with as they all come out of pit road. I think 2 of them were able to beat him out. So he's going to, a little ways up the road, he's going to have to make a move on Stoom and Garrett. Yeah, you see him just ahead, about a second between those 2 in front, battling for the 10th place spot, and your race leader right behind him.
Yep, and I think Thomas... Oh, that was so close. Garrett saves it.
Oh, and now he's just going to get out of the way. That scared me, man. I thought Garrett was destroying his car. I thought he was done for sure. Great save from Johnny Garrett. Tough break that he has to kind of end that battle for 10th as of now. But if he tucks in the slipstream of Mustonen down the Casino Straight, maybe he can have another opportunity to take that spot back in just a few moments' time. But a couple more guys down pit road. Barnick, Al Turner, Stanley, all on pit road. Stanley, I think, has been down there for a while. And now behind the race leader, that battle for 10th is heated up. Franz Josef Stoom went way wide in turn 10, locked up, letting the leader go. And that's given the position over to Johnny Garrett. So both these guys making mistakes, costing themselves, but luckily for Garrett, His mistake was just a little bit smaller.
And also, Shoemaker's not pitted yet, so yeah, Shoemaker just it looks like I was watching in the background there, but I thought Cameron Dance clipped the wall ever so slightly, but looks like he managed to get away with it.
Shoemaker put it on lap. Oh, never mind. That was the wrong thing. I could have swore Shoemaker pitted at some point, but you'd be right. He has stayed out on this racetrack the entire time. I thought 26 laps was the max, but he's working lap number 28 right now. I did not think that we had 28 laps of fuel in the tank. Shoemaker's proven me wrong, though. Unfortunately for him, he has had issues in the early going of this race so far. It's put him a lap back, so I don't think that the fuel saving is going to matter too much, but he does have a little bit more in the tank than everybody else seems to have.
Indeed, and yeah, like maybe trying something different with the strategy, but because me and the director Nolan were talking about before we came on air, like it looks like, or basically, there's no point really fuel saving around here because you don't really have that many places to try some fuel saving. But there's like rider on board of one of the cars at the moment heading down to the chicane, and probably one of the most difficult corners to get right is it looks like it's Shoemaker diving into the pits.
So Shoemaker is going to end this round of green flag pit stops. The entire cycle has cycled out. Mission is still your race leader with an 11-second lead over Cameron Dance. Raphael Eckert in third. Willie Schwabauer fourth. Jan Hoffman running in the fifth place position with Jamie Wilson sixth. VJO up to seventh. Robert Grosser in eighth. Logan Simmons in ninth. And Johnny Garrett rounds out your top 10. We're going to go ahead and take our first commercial break of the racing action. Whenever we come back, we've got more PRS Indy Montreal.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to the Pavement Recycling Systems Indy Montreal from the circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Currently, Thomas Mooston is your race leader. He's got a 13-second lead over Cameron Dance. That gap is kind of stalled out at about that 13-second mark as VJO makes the move down to the inside, continuing his move up. Oh, tight there with Wilson. Wilson almost pounded the wall of champions. Didn't lose. That right rear almost went away.
Yeah, I'm amazed that never ended up being a bigger incident because, yeah, so it's an easy mistake to making that chicane and somehow got away with it. But Wilson's still putting the VJ under huge pressure.
We're going to look at Manzato taking over 11th from Stoom here, coming down to his chicane. It's turn 8 and 9. Just deeper on the brakes. Stoom giving it to him. No reason to fight that too hard. But VJO, how about VJO, right? Started in 9th, up to 6th. I know that doesn't sound absolutely crazy, but there were some big gaps in between 6th, 7th, 8th as he was making those moves. And he's able to make the pass and then run down the guy in front of him and then make another pass time and time again. VJO has found some pace here this week. The last couple times that we've seen VJO, he's been a little bit quicker than he was at the beginning of the season, finding some pace here in the back half, working himself up into 6th from 9th. And, well, if the pattern stays the same, he's going to be running down Jan Hoffman, who's got a 10-second gap to him, and making a move by the end of this one. And I'm here for it, man. VJO has been absolutely rapid here today. Just needed a little bit better qualifying effort.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the thing as well. Sometimes with these cars as well, sometimes it does take a while to get on top of them because these cars are completely different from the cars that are racing in the Indycar series at the moment. The current version, which has got more downforce. These cars, they've got downforce, but they don't have they don't really have the amount of downforce that the current car has. And yeah, it's a bit more. You've kind of got to be a little bit more careful with these cars and be a lot more smoother. It's always like VJO's made a mistake.
Oh, VJO, I was just talking big on you, man. Come on, losing that 6th place position after he had worked up to it. Oh, goodness gracious. Vesa Jala Alila having an issue and losing that spot that he had just worked so hard to get. Just too wide, then skating it through the dirt, becoming a lawnmower, and typically Indy cars do not like to mow the grass.
Yeah, I think VGola just basically carried too much quarter speed on entry and ended up running wide. But further back, the battle for 13th between Randy Shoemaker and Rafael Rodriguez is going on as well. And these guys have been pretty much close together since the first half of the race. And they're covered up to what we're on lap 34 at the moment. They're just about to head on to lap 35. And these guys have been close for the duration so far.
Raphael's able to get that move done. Shoemake just coming out of pit road a couple laps ago thought that maybe he'd have a little bit fresher tires since he pushed that stint out so long and would have a little bit more pace here on the early going, but still struggling a little bit as Rodriguez is able to get by for that 14th spot. To be fair, Rodriguez looked like he had maybe top 10 pace, but he's just had a couple mistakes that has dropped him through the running order and put him a little bit further back than maybe what his pace showed. But again, it's a long race. You got to be able to make it to the end without making those big mistakes. And unfortunately for Rodriguez, he just couldn't even get to the halfway point and has put himself on the back foot, but he's got that pace to be in the top 10. So maybe if he gets a couple more, or a little bit more lucky with some other guys having some issues over the course of the last 50% of this race, then maybe he can climb back up into that top 10. But it's going to be tough to do it on pace alone from being back in 14th with the mistakes that we've seen so far.
Yeah, indeed, and that's the thing as well with the strat. You've got to pretty much got to keep your concentration up all the time, otherwise you can end up making mistakes. And I think some of these guys further back are probably hoping that the cars in front of them rather end up having issues, and maybe just trying to claw their way up through the field and see where they end up finishing. But at the moment, there's only been one retirement from the race, which is Stanley, who's currently in the pits.
Yeah, Stanley's still on pit road. You can see he's gotten out of the car. Unfortunate day for Marshall Stanley. Thought he had some decent pace too. Qualified up in the 8th place spot. But unfortunately, the mistakes did him in early. And, I was talking earlier about this being a race of attrition. We've only got one retiree so far. Is that Stoom that just about was another one? I saw some tire smoke coming there as soon as we swapped the camera over. Same place that we just saw the issue from VJO. Oh, that's a late slide out of that corner.
Yeah, that was. It looked like corner exit. It looked like when he was on the power, the rear wheels just spun up, and right now. It looks like it's a case of just losing the rear end, and again holds the brakes and manages to get going again. But yeah, yeah, we've seen some incidents like that. Austin drivers just losing it on the corner exit, and maybe it's just a case of when they're on the power that just all of a sudden the rear wheels start to kick in when the power starts to kick in as well.
Well, that was a great visual that Stoom just provided us that was going along pretty well with what I was saying right before the issue. I thought that this was going to be a big-time race of attrition. But every time that somebody has spun out coming out of one of these corners, they lock the brake down so quickly, and these cars just have the stopping power in them to where you get on the brakes before you hit any of the wall or any of the walls. And it shocks me at a place like this where it is completely enclosed on both ends by these walls that you can somehow spin out of a corner and not just nose it into the fence and tear off that front wing. We have seen time and time again tonight people spinning out, just locking it down and getting it stopped before we actually have any major damage. So a lot of good driving from the guys up there or out there tonight, heads up driving. Maybe a little bit of luck too that these Indy cars have so much stopping power.
Yeah, absolutely. And currently this battle with Jamie Wilson and Vigiola still going on at the moment as well. And considering that the VJ had that issue not too long ago, he's done well to close that gap back up to Jamie Wilson. I wonder, just thinking out loud as well, I wonder if Wilson's maybe on a different strategy, well, not a different strategy, but maybe just being a little bit more preservative of his tyres and maybe just sticking to a fuel strategy or a fuel number.
Well, and like you said earlier, with the strategy at this last pit stop, this is really where you can kind of make the play of short fueling. Take as little gas as possible to just get yourself to the end. We could be seeing a lot of these guys starting to fuel save a little bit to where they can push this stint out as much as possible to just take a gallon, take 2 gallons less than what everybody else is having to do, and that could be the difference between a second or two on the racetrack. And if you're in a tight battle like Jamie Wilson, VJO. If VJO's pushing, and Wilson is saving, and they still enter pit road together, or at least a couple laps apart, but they were running about the same speed, same distance on the racetrack. Jamie Wilson's going to be the one that comes out of that pit sequence better because he has to take so much less gas. Johnny Garrett finding the dirt a little bit further back, and I think the 66 did as well.
Yeah, it looked like it, and looking at the 96. Sorry, looking at the wrong car there. Still, this battle between Wilson and VJ is still going on as well, and it's a good point you brought up as well, Austin. That basically VJ could be pushing, and what Wilson could be maybe on a trying to hit a fuel number, but both these cars could enter the pits at the same time. But it could be the advantage to Wilson because he maybe has to take less fuel.
We are obviously just speculating in the booth sometimes, but whenever it comes down to the strategy, that's sometimes all you get, right? We can't get inside of these drivers' minds and really be able to tell what's going on, and unfortunately we don't have access to their telemetry like we see in real world racing, where you can kind of see how much throttle, how much brake they're using, and kind of get an idea of the fuel numbers. Here tonight we're just kind of in the dark, kind of guesstimating on what we're seeing out on the racetrack. VGO, though, he's not guesstimating. He is firing that thing around the outside coming down to turn 1. Not able to do it, though. Jamie Wilson covers him off, has the inside line through 2, and he's going to hang on to the 6th place position, and VJO is going to have to mount one more challenge.
Yep, and looking at VJ now, it looks like he's really racing now and wants to try and get by as quickly as possible. But that's the thing around this track; it's difficult to make moves unless the driver in front of you makes a mistake. And I think looking at Jamie Wilson, he's just looking at VJ. I think he might be slightly quicker at the moment, but he just can't find an opportunity to get by.
Still about half a second between these two. It just kind of bridges between that 2/10 to about 7/10 mark. And VJO just trying everything he can. He's going to have to slipstream down the casino straight here in a moment if he has a good hairpin. What can he do? Coming out of turn number 10 through the kink of 11 and 12 and then down to the casino straight. Obviously, Wilson's got a little bit better run out of the corner as he came out earlier. But down this long straightaway. VJO is going to have that draft all the way down. Wilson trying to break it by staying as far right. coming out of the kink of 12 and then down into 13 and 14 towards the wall of champions. VJO is just going to think better of it. Did not have the initial apex on the right-hand turn in. He's just going to have to settle back into that 7th place spot and try to mount another challenge.
Yep, and as soon as VGO got close behind Wilson, heading down to the chicane, Wilson immediately went defensive, and again, just VGO trying to unsettle Wilson. But I have to say, credit to Wilson, he's doing a great defensive job.
Couple more guys coming out of turn 10 and down the casino straight. Looking at Johnny Garrett. Cesare Manzato here as well, just behind Garrett. My mistake. Now we're looking at Garrett coming through the final chicane, going towards the wall of champions. All these guys avoiding it expertly, running in the 10th and 11th place position. Car in front of them, I believe, is on a different lap than these guys, so not really fighting him for a spot currently. But Garrett still trying to peel out a little bit of a gap over Manzato. That is the 3rd place driver in front. Oh, that's going to be too wide. Johnny Garrett somehow keeps it out of the wall. I thought for sure that was Johnny Garrett's night done. I cannot believe he kept it out of that fence going through the dirt like that. With the dirt physics in iRacing now, I thought for sure he'd be skating into that fence, but somehow he Sebastian Vettel'd that thing, kept the position. But he decided to pull off and just give the spot to Manzato.
Yeah, I thought I was going to end up in a big incident between the drivers, and somehow they managed to get away with it. And considering that Montreal is meant to be one of those tracks where it's easy to get caught up in an incident, I'm credit to the drivers, Austin. Everyone's managed to keep it clean so far.
No kidding. Well, the Classic IndyCar Series so far this year has had some races that have been more war of attritions. Like I was talking about earlier, it's kind of what I was leading into this one, thinking we were going to have another one, especially with how enclosed this racetrack is. But it just hasn't been that way. I'm shocked. We've seen the mistakes, we've seen the little half spins, but somehow everybody has kept it out of the wall. I am just honestly shocked. The walls surround this place so tightly. Every single corner, except for turn 10, on the very outside, there is wall. There's wall everywhere. Cannot believe we haven't seen a tire go flying at some point. Still 39 laps to go or so to see, as we're looking at Willie Schwabauer come to the wall of champions. That's a spin. Oh, and finally somebody tapped the wall. Still not heavy damage for the 65, I don't think. That's not a race ender, but that is going to completely remove him from the battle for 3rd place and put him on the back foot. He didn't lose a spot, but he lost a ton of time, 13 seconds that he gave up to Eckert.
Yeah, that was a good heads up driving to hit the brakes and try not to hit the wall, but unfortunately that's what happened. But still, this battle with Wilson and VGO still going on at the moment, and just Wilson's just made a little bit, just a slight gap ever so slightly, but again, it looks like these drivers are pretty much matching each other for pace.
As most of the battles have somewhat sorted themselves out in the middle portion here, and right before our last round of pit stops, we're going to use this opportunity to give a little bit of a shout out to Pavement Recycling Systems for sponsoring today's race. Founded in 1989, Pavement Recycling Systems first provided cold milling services to the Southern California market. Now, PRS has subsequently grown into the premier general engineering subcontractor for cold milling, soil stabilization, roller compacted concrete, and cold in-place asphalt recycling in California and Nevada, with a presence in Utah, Oregon, and Washington. In 2007, PRS added the highly regarded pavement preservation company, Pavement Coatings Company, adding pavement preservation services throughout California and specializing in the use of RAP aggregates via our Reclaimed Aggregates division. Both PRS and PCC are owned by PRS Holdings, Inc., and are proud to be 100% employee-owned. For more information, visit www.pavementrecycling.com. Big thank you to PRS for sponsoring the Classic IndyCar Series here today from Montreal. Big thank you to all those guys over there, all the men and women doing some nice recycling work out there and helping us out. Battle for 14th out on the racetrack right now. Rafael Rodriguez in the number 80 in the 14th place spot, still hanging on from Randy Shoemake. These guys have been under a blanket for a good majority of the race today, I gotta say. They seem to always find each other.
Yeah, absolutely, and they're still close together, and yeah, Rodriguez in 14th and Shoemake in 15th. And it looks like Rodriguez has just got a slight bit of a gap there, and but we've seen with Rodriguez as well. As soon as he gets in front of someone, he can make a mistake sometimes, and it looks like Raphael was maybe just pushing a little bit too hard earlier on, and as I say that, it looks like Shoemake overshoots the entry into the hairpin.
Yeah, so Shoemake's going to have to mount another challenge just a little bit too deep into turn number 10 as we work lap number 43. Those first pit stops came around lap 23. So I'm thinking we're going to start seeing some guys coming in around 46, 47. So just a couple more laps until we start seeing that second round of green flag pit stops here from Montreal.
Indeed, as we're on lap 44 at the moment, and again, Shoemake, is starting to close back up to the back of Rodriguez as well. So, as I was saying, it looks like Rodriguez is just calmed down a little bit, and he's decided not to push too much.
We've also got Logan Simmons. Has he found the dirt out there? Losing a good bit of time there in the 9th place spot. What was he doing around that chicane? Did he make a little bit of an error? Logan Simmons, it wasn't deep, just a little bit too quick on the inputs in the steering wheel, whipping that thing to the left. Logan Simmons, typically one of the guys that we see up towards the front of the field in the Classic IndyCar Series, not having himself the best night in that number 92, but luckily escaped any damage. He's still going to be running in the 9th place spot. So no harm, no foul. Still in 9th place. Monzato has done a great job recovering from his earlier issues. He's up to 10th.
Yeah, he's done a great job to recover from his issues earlier on, and up into the top 10 now, and pretty much all by himself. There's no one behind him or in front of him, so just doing his thing. And as you see there, up 7 spots, and so a great drive by him so far.
Oh, first pit stop, here it is. Randy Shoemake decided to come down to Jan Hoffman for 5th. Jan Hoffman, your 5th place runner, has spun it around. Again, I think that he's escaped damage, but that's a good chunk of time that he is completely lost. He's taken himself out of the battle for 4th and has put himself on the back foot. Now it's going to be tight between him, Jamie Wilson, and VJO for the 5th place spot. As we see what happened to the 0-5, it looks so innocuous coming out of the corner so late for the 0-5, but just a little bit too much wheel and a little bit too much gas put into it. But man, it seemed like he was on the straightaway. You would have thought that thing would be a-okay that far out of the corner, but we just saw it go around.
Absolutely, and they've got another replay coming up as well, and it looks like trying to figure out who it is as they coming around the final quarter. Oh, as he's trying to decide what way to go, and that's the thing around this track, Austin, as well. If there's a car sideways in front of you, you don't know what and he just told as well, and you don't know what to do because you don't know if they're going to go reverse out or go forward. It's one of those kind of split-second decisions.
Oh, he's done it again! Oh no! So Logan Simmons has taken himself out of this thing from 9th. It's going to move Manzato up to the 9th place position, and Johnny Garrett into the top 10. Got to give a shout out to Franz Josef Stoon for doing a great job getting by that as well. That's a very tough situation that he was put in, trying to get past Logan the first time. But what in the world? Logan Simmons, back-to-back issues in the same corner.
It looked fine. It looked like he hit a bump, and it just unsettled the car, and Logan Simmons, that was we've seen that earlier on as well, Austin. Some drivers just getting on the power and they hit a bump as well, and it just unsettles the car, and they're pretty much just a passenger.
Jan Hoffman was the one that had an issue beforehand, but then Simmons had his own little minor mistake and then compounded it with a much bigger one. But now here is Jan Hoffman coming down from 5th. He had that spin, so he's thinking, all right, the pit window's open. I'm going to come down pit road, get the 4 freshies. We just looped it, so maybe perfect timing for Jan to come down pit road and try to hang on to that 5th place spot. The only problem is he's going to have a little bit older tires for the rest of this race and everybody that's going to be coming down here shortly. And, well, Jamie Wilson and VJO were right on his back gearbox after that mistake.
Absolutely, and yeah, it's like I was talking about before, Austin. Basically halfway through the race or towards the end of the race, the drivers are starting to have issues. Is it just a case of maybe just the fatigue starting to kick in?
Very well could be. Long race, right? Like you said, 47 laps completed. I would be tired. My arms would be a little bit worn out after muscling this thing around a racetrack like Circuit Gilles Villeneuve for 47 laps. I mean, these things are not easy to drive. We talked about it. These are the older Indy cars, not the newer Indy cars, which are still difficult. But these things are a different beast in themselves. And you just are going to start seeing those mistakes as you start to get a little tired. Maybe you get lulled into a sense of security because you've done it so well for 45, 47 laps in a row that maybe, it just takes one mistake while you're lulled asleep and all of a sudden your race is over.
Indeed, as well. Looking at the leader, look at Thomas Musterson, and again, he's just built up that gap to 18 seconds now as Jamie Wilson and it looks like VGO into the pits.
Yep, so both of these guys were in that 5th place battle with Jan Hoffman. Both of them deciding to come down the lap after Hoffman to make sure that they do not give him too big of an advantage on those newer tires and gap them too far. So both these guys are going to have 1 lap fresher tires than Hoffman whenever they come out. As VJO taking his tires. Jamie Wilson also up on the jack. Wilson coming off first. VJO just a little bit later, but they're going to come out the same way that they came into pit road. Jamie Wilson, what will be the 6th place position. VJO, what will be the 7th. Currently 7th and 8th on the racetrack, but still got to obviously wait for these guys to finish up this round of green flag pit stops. And this is our final round of pit stops. So kind of the final chance for Mustonen to make a race-ending mistake. With this 19-second gap after the pit stops, I got to imagine that he might just back it down a little bit and save those tires, save that car. Just make sure that he does not make any type of mistake. But we'll have to wait and see. Still maybe a couple laps until we see him come down.
Indeed, and yeah, up to about 19 seconds now, the gap between him and Cameron Dance, and yeah, this has just been a superb drive by Thomas, and I wonder if Thomas will probably just try and go as long as possible in this last before his last pit stop, just try and go as long as possible and stretch it out, and as it goes right over the curbs, that's a bit risky because that can unsettle the car. So, but somehow Thomas manages to just be super swift through the chicane over the curbs, and yeah, just doing what he needs to do.
Thomas Mustonen has driven an absolute hell of a race tonight. Absolutely perfect so far from the driver, the number 22. I've seen that back end wiggle once over the course of the night, and that was it. That is all I have seen. Smooth sailing for that number 22 so far. Flirting with the walls just about every time he comes around these corners, but that's the marks of somebody who knows how to do it right, using absolutely all the racetrack without actually getting those tires scraping out against the outside wall whenever you come out of one of these corners. And you can tell he's using all the racetrack on entry too, getting it all the way out to those white painted lines on the very outside there through that chicane on exit, getting all the way out to the curb, using all the racetrack. That's why he's been able to make so much speed. He's not cutting down anything out of this course. A lot of guys narrow up their entry, narrow up their exit, don't use all the racetrack because they're afraid of those walls. If you're afraid of the walls, you're not gonna get the most pace out of it. Thomas Mustonen has not been afraid at all today.
Yeah, he's just pretty much, pretty much just been setting the pace, and at the moment they just doing a good job. But further back, we've got this battle as well with it looks like Joseph Stum and Andrew Aitken as well for the 11th place. So yeah, both these drivers, I was keeping an eye on them, and they've been close together for quite some time. And Joseph Stone doing a good job of keeping that position. And I was looking at his front wing as well. I thought I saw a little bit of damage there, but it looks like it's just maybe just a graphics glitch. So it looks like we've got another car into the pit lane.
Another car into the grass, the 55. of Jack Turner, finding a little bit of grass there through 5 and 6. And here it looks like it's Raphael Eckert with 20 laps to go coming out to take his final pit stop. He's going to be the first of the top 4 to come down. Willie Schwabauer just got by him now. Obviously, Eckert will be able to take that position back whenever Schwabauer comes down for his last pit stop. But Moosten and Dance, Schwabauer still out on the racetrack. Robert Groscher has not come down either. Monzato in 9th, Garrett in 10th still have not taken their final pit stop as Stoom stays out on the racetrack, but Aiken in that number 27 decides to come down pit road to take his final pit stop of the afternoon.
Indeed, as they've got the 20 laps remaining, and the leader comes into the pits now, so pretty much bang on his pit strategy.
So Moosten coming in for his final pit stop. A little bit further back, we see Robert Grosser come in from the 5th place position. Cameron Dance just now coming across the start-finish line to take the lead away from Moosten, and I think this is the first time somebody other than Thomas has led all night. Now it is under a pit cycle, so how much do you count that? I don't know, but I'm pretty sure we get bonus points for leading a lap, so I think Cameron Dance is going to be counting that.
Yeah, it's not always a bad thing to do, considering that Cameron Dance is him with a chance of a championship as someone locks up there into the pit lane. And yeah, more cars hitting pit lane now, and it looks like Schwalbauer is into the pits as well.
Yep, Willie Schwalbauer coming down pit road for his final pit stop. You know, I got to say, I'm surprised at how fast this race has flown by. You know, we started with 69 laps. We're crossing lap number 50 right now. It blows my mind we've got 50 of these things done and dusted into the books, but it only takes a minute and 21 seconds to get around this place. That's pretty daggum quick for a road course. And you were mentioning earlier, the racetrack looks huge whenever you look at that track map, but man, it's not. It's so tiny for these Indy cars. It just doesn't take that much time to get around it. Tracking the battle for 10th through the pit stops. The 30, typically not a good idea. I think you might be tearing your rear tire changer's wrist off, spinning those tires during the pit stop. But Stoom coming down pit road, tracking the battle for 10th as we watch the 27 of Aiken. He's already made his pit stop, trying to see where he comes out in relation to the 34. But it looks like Stoom. Oh, Aiken must have had a penalty because, oh no, that rear wing is destroyed, isn't it?
Yeah, that's. I was about to say that left rear, that left or left side rather of the rear wing is dented in slightly.
What in the world has happened to Andrew Aiken? He was having a decent night going just outside of the top 10, and unfortunately, he's having to come down pit road once again, and get damage repair. So, same corner we've seen time and time again, right? Oh no, it was a little bit earlier. Found the fence. That's a corner we have not seen any issues through. That's Cameron Dance coming up. He's trying to get out of the way. Was there a little bit of a clip there as he's trying to get out of the way for Dance? I can't quite tell. It's a weird spot to let somebody go. I applaud Aiken for trying, but oh man, it was just so tight between him and Dance coming through. We're gonna get the onboard of Cameron to see. Maybe just a little bit unpredictable for Cameron, not expecting him to pull out of the way in such a strange part of the racetrack. Oh, there might have been a netcode clip, maybe?
Yeah, that was, I don't know if that was netcode or not, but that was looking at the front wing of Dance. It's got some scratches on it, so that there might have been a little bit of slight contact, or if it wasn't proper contact, it might have just been proper. Or it might have been just a netcode.
He definitely had some either contact or internet contact. The way the back end stepped out, that was not a loose condition back end step out. That was a contact issue. So I'm not quite sure if just a little bit of miscommunication between the two, and there was actually contact, and it was just super slider if we had a little bit of an internet issue between the two. But nonetheless, the end result is Aiken in the fence and having to come back down pit road, and he's still on pit road as we see Johnny Garrett coming down to take his final stop from 9th.
Yeah, but that was some unfortunate for Aitken, but it's just, yeah, I think I saw the intention of Aitken trying to get out of the way, but I think maybe just got slightly spooked and tried. As Cameron Dance gets sideways, and manages to save it, and maybe Cameron Dance is feeling a little bit of slight frustration.
Could he be fighting a little bit of front wing damage? Maybe. I mean, I don't really see anything. Like you said, it's scraped up, but I've seen time and time again, you get a little scrape on the front wing or front bumper in one of the NASCAR cars, and all of a sudden the scrape's gone after a couple seconds or about a lap or two, and that's typically when you know it was an internet issue, some internet contact. And I don't see damage on the front left wing, but every now and again, especially in these open wheel fragile cars, the damage could be so minor you don't see it, but it could really make you start struggling.
Absolutely. I think from what I saw, it looked like I saw some scrapes afterwards, but I think sometimes iRacing is known for having being funny when looking back at replays, and it looks like Cameron Dance's front end looks fine, and there's a battle for 12th going on between Shoemaker and or still going on between Shoemaker and Rodriguez. These guys are pretty much been inseparable.
Yeah, these guys have been nose to tail for a good chunk of the race today. Shoemaker currently in front of Rodriguez. I feel like they've swapped positions a good handful of times. Somebody that hasn't swapped positions except for on pit road is Thomas Moostonen as we come to 16 laps to go. 19-second lead that he's got over Cameron Dance. What do you say we go on board with your race leader of Thomas Moostonen and crank up the volume a little bit, and me and Ryan will step away for a couple of moments and give you guys the opportunity to see what it's like to drive around the circuit Gilles Villeneuve as fast as possible behind the wheel of Thomas Moostonen. hope that you enjoyed those couple laps behind the wheel of Thomas Mustinen's number 22 machine as he leads the field 19 seconds over Cameron Dance. But looking up at our upcoming shows here on Green Flag TV on September 1st, that's going to be tomorrow night. Oh, that's tonight. I completely... You would think I would know that, but you know, tonight is September 1st, so be sure to stick around for the ASRL Next Gen Cup Series, round number 6 from the Circuit of the Americas. That's going to be at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on Green Flag TV. And then September 4th, that's Wednesday night. I can tell you that for sure because I'm going to be broadcasting that. That's the Beer League. Round number 6 is VJO. Just decided to give us a little bit of a show there, down into 5 and 6. But that's going to be at 9:20 p.m. Eastern, as always, for the Beer League, and that's going to be at the Autodromo Nacional Monza. And guess what? That's Monza combined, no chicanes for the Beer League. We don't know if there's going to be rain or not yet. There may be, so that's going to be one you absolutely have to tune into. And then on September 5th, we've got the Speed Cup Series. Round number 8 from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. That's going to be at 9:15 p.m. Eastern. That'll be Thursday night of this week. And like I mentioned earlier, if you missed any portion of today's race of the Classic Indycar Series, the PRS Indy Montreal, well, we'll be live on ESTV with a rebroadcast next week, a week from today. ESTV will be rebroadcasting this race in its entirety, and you can find their distribution platforms at estv.co. Cameron Dance just ran the fastest lap of the session last time by. Unfortunately, this time not quite as good because he cut that down to about 19 seconds, and now it's back up to 21. So this lap not as great for Cameron Dance. But like I was saying in the beginning of this race, he needed a consistent race. He needed a decent race where he finished ahead of his championship contenders. That's what he's doing, up there in the second place position. This has been a very good drive from Cameron Dance. Even if he doesn't have the race-winning pace, he's got the championship-winning pace here tonight.
Absolutely, and that's the thing as well. If you're not winning races, it's always better to be still finish in the top 3 and pick up points. But as long as you're finishing in front of your championship rivals, that's the main thing. And I think second place. Everyone says second place is the first loser, but when you're in a championship, it probably feels like a win.
Yeah, I feel like that's maybe more of the NASCAR fans in America saying that, because we've got it down to where if you're in second place, you really are the first loser for one race of the season, right? And, you know, throughout the entire season here in the IndyCar series or any other racing series in the world, you know, you have the full season-long format. Consistency matters, as it should. And, well, Cameron Dance in this number 6 right now, he's been ridiculously consistent this season. I'm struggling to find it in my mind when he finished outside of 2nd to 5th. I mean, I feel like every race he's been in between 2nd to 5th all year long, and that's why he's 2nd in the championship right now, and why he very well could take the points lead after today. One finish outside the top 5, I just heard from my producer, and that was at Pocono, which was a 7th place finish. That's ridiculous consistency from Cameron Dance. That's stupid. Wow. Okay, so we're going to relay some more information from the producer. That's insane. He's got 1 win, 1 5th, 1 7th, and every other race, we've had 10 races, 2nd. Every other race, 2nd place. That's ridiculous, and he's consistently shown that here again, 2nd place. Go figure for Cameron Dance with 9 laps to go. Obviously a little bit of time. You never know. I don't want to jinx the guy and have him make a mistake. But, I mean, the consistency has been there all season long from Cameron Dance. And like I said, that's how you win a championship with a system that's not stupid.
Absolutely. And, excuse me. Yeah, absolutely. I think and that's the thing as well with Cameron Dance. He's always one of those people, or one of those drivers that I've watched quite a lot on iRacing, and he's always been quick. But as I look at the leader, Thomas Mustinen, fastest lap of the race at 1:22.29. So yeah, Thomas is not letting up by any means.
1:21.29, and that's only half a second slower than his qualifying lap, and that's faster than anybody else ran in qualifying. And he ran that in race pace. That's ridiculous from Mustinen. And it just shows how much he's been on full push this entire time. And you see it. That's a tough corner that we've seen a lot of guys spin out of so far tonight. That turn number 8. Mustinen uses absolutely all the racetrack every time. He's leaving inches between that right rear tire and the wall. That's the way to do it. That's the way to make speed. And he's been doing it cleanly lap after lap. Through with 60 laps so far, and he has not put a wheel wrong.
Indeed, as it comes down to the chicane now, head through the chicane, and yeah, just watching him glide over those curves, it's just unreal to watch. He's been absolutely just using the curves like crazy, but just being super smooth at the same time as he comes across the line. 7 laps to go, and yeah, I have to say, Austin, we were talking about it during the break. This race has just absolutely flew by.
Yeah, it shocks me. I really thought that, whenever I had loaded into this session and I saw 69 laps, the first thing I thought of was nice. And then I thought, this is going to take a while. But honestly, this has flown by. I mean, a minute and 20 seconds to get around this place. I think I was kind of in that camp that you were talking about earlier of thinking this track was a little bit bigger than it really is. And only a minute and 20 seconds for your race leader to get around this place. I mean, that just makes this thing fly by. And we've seen it a couple times tonight. Somebody will make a mistake in a corner, and then we'll show the replay, and then we go back live, and there's the same guy who's making the same mistake in the same corner, but the lap after. So I feel like I'm watching the same replay twice. It's just how quick these guys have been getting around this place here tonight in these Indy cars. I mean, these things are absolutely rapid. The way that they take the chicanes is just absolutely insane. It's like they have absolute peak grip through entry, through center, but the exit is where it starts to get a little sketchy for a lot of these guys.
Yep, and they further back as well. The battle.
Oh man, Mustonen almost just destroyed his car in the Wall of Champions trying to get past Randy Shoemake. That was as sideways as I've seen him tonight, and I could have swore he was throwing this race away with 7 laps to go. But he's taking that thing across the start-finish line, taking 6 laps to go with all 4 tires still on it. But I'm telling you, I was very worried about 30 seconds ago for Mustonen, and look at, he's still sliding a little bit. He is not backing that thing down.
Indeed, as we've got a replay coming up now, and it looks like
maybe he blinked out or something at some point on this replay. I'm not sure.
I was going to say, I wonder if Mustonen's had a technical issue or his connection.
Robert Grosser's having internet issues. Okay. So we were trying to see what happened to Grosser. I think we were getting some heads up on our overlays about him dropping some positions, but it seems it's mostly an internet issue here for Robert Grosser. Still frustrating for him. He was having a decent night in that number 9. He had kind of worked his way back up after having some issues, but unfortunately he's going to fall back to 11th and maybe even further back than that. He did have to disconnect from the session and reconnect. So still on pit road there for Grosser. Hopefully he can get back on the field or out in the field and not lose too much more time. But the battle for 12th between Shoemake and Rodriguez, I mean, these guys, we've said it multiple times, these guys just cannot get away from each other. Oh no, Franz Josef Stum has bent it. I believe was that turn 8 as well? Yeah, it was turn 8 for Stum. Running in the 11th place spot. I don't think I see any big damage on that thing. Come through 7 and 8.
Yeah, he locks up slightly and he gets sideways.
Man, we have seen that same incident how many times tonight? Holy cow. Out of the same corner. Good job keeping it out of the fence there. Maybe a little brush up with the left front wing, but ultimately no harm, no foul. Not going to take too much damage. Stum not dropping too far back either. Looks like he did lose a spot to Grosser, though. So Grosser was able to get back on the racetrack and at least get back into the top 10 after his internet issue due to that. So Grosser's a little happy about that, I'm sure. At least getting a decent finish that he deserves out of this, even after the internet issue. Got to give big credit to Monzato and Garrett, too. Those were guys that we saw spinning in the first 10 to 15 laps of this race. And they have clawed their way back up to 8th and 9th, respectively. Great job from the 66 of Manzato and the 68 of Garrett, as we're still watching Shoemake and Rodriguez fight for the 12th place spot. And, Wilson and VJO are still nose to tail for the 6th place spot as well. We saw VJO get by him earlier in this race and then make a mistake himself, give the position back, and he's not been able to get back past Jamie Wilson for that 6th place spot since.
Yep, as Wilson and VGO come up to the chicane and they're still close together, and again, another battle. It's pretty much been hard to separate, and Wilson doing a good defensive job and they handling the pressure very well.
Yeah, he's had VJO on his rear gearbox here for, I mean, the last 20 laps, right? And at a track like this, where you said the only way you can really make a pass is by the guy in front of you making mistakes, all you can really do is put the pressure on, be there in case it happens. Well, Jamie Wilson is just doing absolutely fantastic, not making mistakes, keeping VJO behind him, not even giving him any type of opportunity, just hitting his marks, driving a clean, solid race. He's got 4 laps left to make sure that he can hang on to that 6th place spot as these guys are coming down to 7 and 8.
Yep, as they coming down to the hairpin now, and I think if VGO wants to try and make a move, he's got to try and do something, try and unsettle Wilson. But again, Wilson handling the pressure, and I don't know where he'd make the move. But the only places I can think of is heading down to the chicane if he gets close enough. But I think Wilson's just doing everything he needs to do to keep him behind, and not too far behind. Then they've got Cameron Dance coming up to lap them, I think.
I'm surprised that the draft has not played a bigger factor down the Casino Straight. I thought that we would see some bigger runs coming up towards the Wall of Champions chicane, but so far tonight we haven't seen a lot of big late dives down towards that area. We haven't seen big moves or big runs kind of formulate in the draft down that straightaway here so far this afternoon. And that's helping out the defensive drivers a little bit. Talking about Jamie Wilson, talking about Randy Shoemake, who are the 2 guys still holding onto their positions, but are being a little under fire here for that 12th place position and the 6th place spot. Oh my gosh, Moostonen almost lost it out of 10. Look, whenever you got 3 laps to go, coming up to 2 to go, if you're Thomas Moostonen with a 25-second lead, last thing I'd be doing is stepping that back end out ever so slightly and just risking it. But coming out of 10 there, he was a little heavy on the throttle pedal. So I think even the race leader maybe getting a little worn out after a long race.
Indeed, as the leader comes across the line now, and it'll be 2 laps to go, and he comes across the line heading down to turn 1, and yeah, he's definitely. I'm quite surprised he's still throwing that car around, considering he's got such a big lead. I mean, if he makes a mistake, as it looks like Wilson's about to lose a place heading into the chicane, can the VGO hold on? Oh, that was side by side for the chicane. Amazingly, somehow they survived.
That was tight to the chicane. VJO getting forced to the outside. Tough to make the move around the outside whenever the guy down low stays in it. Later braking there from Jamie Wilson. That's some expert defensive driving from Jamie. They're able to hang on to the 6th place spot. So Wilson and VJO still not swapping that place back and forth. But I imagine with a lap and a half to go, we might see one more opportunity. Battle for 12 still on. Randy Shoemake hanging on from Rafael Rodriguez. These two, again, have not left each other's side since what feels like lap 20 or so. Shoemake and Rodriguez still working their way around. Shoemake not making a mistake there, so Rodriguez is not going to be able to get the run coming down the Casino Straight, 0.6 of a second back. He's got a little bit of speed difference over Randy Shoemake, 0.5 of a second, but Thomas Moostonen up in the race lead has taken the white flag. 1 lap to go here in the PRS Indy Montreal from circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Johnny Garrett in 9th, maybe seeing if he can take 1 more position. Actually, it's a slow lap car up in front of him, so it's going to be pretty easy for him to get around. But looking back at a replay of Robert Grosser to see what happened to him, because he looked pretty damaged there. Coming out of the 2nd chicane, and that's a late loop coming out and a front wing out on the racetrack.
Yeah, that was unlucky to see seeing him make that mistake, because it looks like Thomas is on his final lap and he's got some traffic in front of him. But apart from that, Austin, it's been an absolutely superb drive by Thomas, and a well-deserved win just about to happen for him.
Yeah, Thomas Moostonen would have gone flag to flag if it were not for the green flag pit stops. That's how quick he had been all night. 27-second lead that he's put over Cameron Dance over the course of 69 laps here tonight. And Moostonen is going to come up to the last couple of corners, and he's going to pass the Wall of Champions one last time here tonight from circuit Gilles Villeneuve. And Thomas Mustonen is going to come out of the final corner, and he will win the PRS Indy Montreal Grand Prix. A little bit further back, Randy Shoemake still hanging on. Can he keep this 12th place position over Rodriguez? It's a big enough gap that it's going to take a big mistake out of Shoemake through the last couple of corners to make it happen for Rodriguez. That's not going to happen. Shoemake's going to hold on to 12th. A little bit further back, Cameron Dance going to be coming through to finish in the 2nd place position as VJO could not get by Jamie Wilson. So Wilson with a great defensive drive to hang on to the 6th place position. VJO coming home in 7th. And it's going to be Raphael Eckert in that number 74 to come through to finish out your podium here today, with Willie Schwabauer just a little ways further back coming down the casino straight for the final time. A lot of these guys still a lap or 2 down. Manzato, Garrett, Stoom, Grosser all still yet to finish. Schwabauer is going to come out of the last couple corners. He's going to take the stripe in the 4th place position. Manzato comes across in 8th. Johnny Garrett is going to end up finishing in the 9th place position, but it's going to be Thomas Mustonen who's going to put himself up on the top step of the podium, just about leading flag to flag in that number 22 Classic Indycar. What a race from Thomas Mustonen. Didn't really put a wheel wrong all night. Was maybe having a little bit of fun there at the end, letting the back end step out, just getting a little squirrely, maybe just putting on a bit of a show. And he's definitely putting on a bit of a show down into turn number 10, doing some victory donuts for the fans.
Yep, and the fans will be loving that. And yeah, if you've got enough fuel and pretty much you've still got fresh rubber, why not just burn it down to the ground?
Yeah, he might be doing donuts until either he throws up or he runs out of gas. I'm not quite sure which one's going to come first. If he's in VR, maybe the throw up. But I'm not too confident. He's decided to kick it out of that thing and get it down the casino straight. But man, good race here from the Classic IndyCar Series. Very clean race. Not the war of attrition that I expected coming into it with how difficult this track is. So all these guys put on a great show here tonight and kept it nice and clean and green all the way through for the PRS Indy Montreal. But we're going to run through the final race results as the race has just concluded. Thomas Mustonen is your race winner. Cameron Dance, Mr. 2nd place, comes home in 2nd again, but a great points night for him. Raphael Eckert in 3rd. Willie Schwabauer 4th. Jan Hoffman rounds out the top 5 with Jamie Wilson in 6th. VJO in 7th. Cesare Manzato in 8th. Johnny Garrett 9th. And Franz Josef Stoom in 10th.
Yep, finishing in 11th was Robert Grosser with Randy Shoemake in 12th. And then 13th we've got Rafael Rodriguez with Jack Turner 14th, and then 15th we've got Rob Bernickel. And then the retirements from the race were Andrew Aitken, Logan Simmons and Marshall Stanley.
Not the night Marshall Stanley wanted. A couple issues in the early going. Going to be rounding out the field here tonight. But that's going to do it for the full race rundown of the field here tonight. So we're going to jump into our interviews here in just a moment. We're going to wait to give these guys an opportunity to jump to the Discord so that we can give an interview to our top 3 finishers. Looking at Cameron Dance right here. Like I said, Mr. 2nd place. God bless. I cannot believe how many times we've seen Cameron finish in the 2nd place position here this year, but it's let himself stay in that championship hunt consistently all throughout the year. And Cameron, I said it on the race rundown, Mr. 2nd place. Is 2nd place becoming a little tiring at this point, or are you happy with the consistency?
It was a little bit tiring not getting a win, but we'll take the consistency, to be honest. Especially with the fact that Ethan didn't turn up today, so we've both dropped a road course and interestingly a street circuit as well. So at the end of the day, it's made the championship that much, I guess, closer, and probably given it a little bit more in our favour, the fact that we've now both dropped at least one race with the fact that it's a DNS. So yeah, look, I'm not going to complain with the 2nd place, but at the end of the day, we also got to keep on pushing and just try and get another win if we can.
Cameron, I've broadcasted a lot of leagues over the course of the last year and a half, and I don't think I've ever seen a driver more consistent than the driver of the number 6 here in the Classic IndyCar Series. Just talk about your consistency across the entire year, and then even out there tonight, right? I didn't see you making many mistakes out there tonight. Just solid 2nd place, solidly on the podium week in, week out. Speak on that consistency, and do you think that that's going to bring you to a championship at the end of the year?
Yeah, I hope it does. I think it's just been down to the fact we've been doing some decent prep. just making sure we're comfortable in the car, knowing what it's going to be doing, making any changes we need to, and then obviously being aware of like obviously how the race is possibly going to pan out. So yeah, it's been really really good so far. Obviously we've got to keep on doing that for the rest of the season. There's not many races left, but obviously we've got to keep going at that. Indy's going to be interesting. Not quite sure what Iconic's going to roll out there, but I know we've got a fast set, so we'll see how we go. But yeah, we just got to keep putting in the effort, putting in the consistency, and bringing in those points and results.
Cameron, you do have one win so far on the year. What's it going to take to make that 2? What's it going to take to just push you one more step up on the podium to end the season out?
I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. Hopefully it's going to be before the end of the season, and hopefully we can win at least another race. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I'd probably have to go back and have a look and see what we've maybe been missing, whether it's something in the setup, whether it's been something in the way we've been driving, whether it's just comfort. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, we'll have to have a look. Obviously 3 pretty decent races coming up, 2 road courses I'm familiar with. Fuji I'm not 100% sure on, but Road America I think we should be okay, so we'll see how we go, and yeah, we'll just keep pushing.
Well, Cameron, congratulations on the second place finish once again this weekend. We're looking forward to see if that consistency can bring you to the championship. Who do you have to thank at the end of this one?
Yeah, just obviously cheers to the Orbit Motorsport team, fast car as always, and obviously everybody on the car, Hybrid Tune, Demon Tweaks, Fight CRC, Sim Racing Bible, and obviously cheers to all the boys for all the good racing, and cheers to you boys for the awesome broadcast.
Well, we appreciate the kind words here, Cameron, and we look forward to seeing if you can bring home the championship over the course of the last couple of races in the season.
Yeah, cheers guys.
All right, that was your second place finisher, Cameron Dance. We're going to give the first and third place finishers, Thomas Musterson and Raphael Eckert, just another moment to get up into the broadcast booth. So, Ryan, what did you think of the race here tonight? You know, it was a pretty solid race, nice, clean, and green. Were you surprised to see Thomas Musterson lead this thing just about flag to flag?
Yeah, first off, the turnout wasn't high, or basically it wasn't big numbers. I mean, 18 cars is still a good turnout, but as for the race and Thomas Musterson, I was expecting him to be slightly challenged. I mean, in the early stage of the race, Cameron Dance was keeping up with him, and then basically it seemed to, or it appeared that as soon as Thomas got a bit of a gap, he just kicked into another gear and built up that gap, and it was just never to be touched again.
Yeah, Musterson really did just fly around or fly away from this field around the 20-lap mark, just really took off and didn't really give anybody an opportunity. Eckert did a great job hanging on to that third place position with Schwaubauer having an incident through the middle of the race, really taking the pressure off of Eckert. Unfortunately, he could not quite put the pressure onto Cameron Dance at any point for that second place position, but he still had a great run in the third place spot. Schwaubauer with that mistake, spinning out of a corner here at Canada. You expect not to finish in the top 5. You expect to maybe be on the trailer heading home, but instead Willie Schwaubauer was able to come home in 4th. Jan Hoffman did the same thing. He spun coming out of turn number 8. He was able to save that thing and bring home a 5th place position. Jamie Wilson, just consistent all night long in 6. Lost that 6th place position to VJO at one point, but then VJO made a mistake and gave it right back. And after that, Jamie drove a hell of a last 20 laps to keep that spot. But that's basically the full rundown of the top 8. Unfortunately, we could not get in touch with Raphael Eckert or Thomas Musterson, so we might be able to interview them at the conclusion of tonight's race. But regardless, big congratulations to Thomas Musterson for winning the PRS Indy Montreal race here tonight from the circuit Gilles Villeneuve. That's going to do it here from us at Green Flag TV. It was an absolutely fantastic race for the Classic Indycar Series. We got a few more races left to go this week and a few more races left to go in the Classic Indycar season. Who's going to win the championship? Can Cameron Dance keep that consistency up, or will Ethan Agan return and hold on to the title? This has been this has been it from us at Green Flag TV. I've been Austin Edstrom, standing alongside Ryan Wilson and Nolan Rempel. We'll see you next time when we go racing.